Well, hello and welcome again to River Valley Farm. Stop. We're going to work on the baler, but first we're going to try something here real quick. Or well, we're going to check something here real quick and see. Get around this thing anyway. About how much so more or less I brought a piece of plate that is the thickness of the ruler, if not a little bit more. What are you talking about now over there, huh?
All you have to do is press a button on either side of this.
Okay then.
That might be nice.
Could be, I guess. Go ahead through a cycle here. What's all that racket about? Oh, must be this thing. Don't need that in here anymore anyway. So, alright, so we've drug that back all the way. That should be good. And, well, I'm just getting everything in here in the way, apparently. Alright, so, before I ruin all my tools, I guess I better quit walking and talking and doing stuff here. So anyway, what I'm looking at doing is I brought a piece of plate that is approximately the same thickness as this ruler, or more specifically this ruler. So both of those should be the same roughly. So what I'm looking at doing is I'm going to take the knife out, the existing shims out, clean up the side of the bale, or the wall of the bale chamber here, and use a piece of that plate as a baseline shim, so we have a little bit more something to go on. Because as I saw in the previous video, there was, you know, a whole lot of room left for this thing to go through there. And as I said, this was close to 3/32, if not an eighth of an inch, and there was more than plenty of room for it to pass through. So while this piece of plate is actually just a little bit thicker, I think it'll still work out for us. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to notch me a piece, or measure the that one thing in there, the knife, actually pull it back out and get appropriate, and get a not appropriate, an exact length on it, and we'll go from there. Turn this thing the other way a little bit.
Daddy?
Buddy?
This is my video camera.
Okay, I'm glad.
And I'm about on this video.
Turn on the wind generator there. Alright, so I'm going to pull that out and shim it back out with that piece of plate and work our way from there. I think without the existing shims, that piece of plate will be about right. If not, though, I did find shim stock, so we're good. Alright, so got our knife pulled out. Got my initial shim piece made here on the back. I know the holes are kind of ugly, but that's because I could not get a good center punch because I'm dealing with a square hole. So anyway, next up on the list is I'm gonna go in here, maybe over here, and clean this up real good, get the rust and everything off of it. because, well, we just don't need a bunch of rust in between there. That makes it hard to keep things tight. And yeah, well, as I said, we were going to do away with the shims that were in there to begin with and start with the piece of plate that I have clamped to the back of this knife. I don't know the wisdom of this, but that's what we're going to try first. So hang on a second while I figure out what I'm going to use to polish that in there, because that's quite the angle to be at. But anyway, we'll figure something out. Alright, so I used the grinder and that wire cup there, and while it wasn't pretty doing it, and it's still not pretty now, it's a lot less rusty than what it was a minute ago. So we're going to call that good and put this thing back together. And then we'll see whether we have a collision between the square knife, which is still nice and square, and this knife, which is still nice and sharp. That's pretty much all that can happen there. Is one will hit the other, and that'll be that. Developing a hole right here, and I don't know what that's from, but anyway, probably just 60 years of baling hay. But you know, that's not that big a deal. We ain't too worried about that, because well, I can't stick my head through it, so I guess it'll be all right. So now I'm gonna put the knife back in with the shim that I made, bolt it up, tighten it up, and we'll go from there. All right, so everything's bolted in, happy there. By some luck, all the plow bolts sucked in tight and are in the right spot even. So that is what a 32nd of an inch is in thousandths. So that's the size feeler gauge we need, just to see what we get. And 31 thousandths. Yeah, 30 thousandths, 32, somewhere in there. Let's see here. I think they're out here. Oh, where'd the shit thing? There it is, right there. Okay then. Alright, so 0.03125, I believe is what that said. 03125. So we'll see what we can get. I doubt if I have a 0.0321. Yeah, 0.03125, but you know, we'll see what we got in here, I guess. If I can read them, that is. What's that? That's 035. So in theory, then this should be at this end. So there's 030 and 032. So somewhere, if we're within those two, we're good, basically. If not, then we got to figure something else out. The main reason I went with this solid plate idea is because I didn't want to have to stack, you know, 30 thousandths of shims in that. Actually, it would have been over 30 thousandths of shims, an additional 30 thousandths to whatever was in there, because that would have made it weak. you would have then had places where that knife could bow away from those shims, and that wouldn't be a good idea. So anyway, let me get this thing in position, I guess, and we shall go from there.
Right back there. I'll do it for you.
Okay then, so we've got the two knives together in here for what it's worth. Get this thing up out of here. So anyway, trying to get a light in here so I can see what's going on. Maybe. Alright, so I'm gonna go with the 032 to start with, see what that gets us, if anything. And okay, I got it backed up a little bit. Okay, so that's got us 32 thousandths. Still has a ton of room in there. So let's go with 62 thousandths and see what that does. There's still some wiggle room. Did we do it any good at all on my ruler? Okay, so ruler. And some yes and some no. Okay, well, this is becoming most entertaining. Let's see here. So basically my gap is wider on the bottom down here than it is on the top. So I need to go more shims down here than what I have up here. And then, yeah, anyway, we're gonna have to play the shim game. I didn't want to do that, but I guess that's what we'll do. Alright, so I went back in there, or I took the knife completely out. I left my plate in there that I cut, and I put in behind it 3 1/2-inch washers on the plow bolts. So we're either going to make it right or we're going to screw it up, one or the other. Okay, that was kind of a hard stop. And that's because we are now less than sub-zero clearance. So, okay, well, now we know how much is too much. Okay, so I just cut 3 shims out of this piece of shim stock, which is That looks like 25 thousandths is what that is. I'm checking it with the feeler gauge, which I have dial calipers, or actually digital calipers somewhere, but I can't find them currently. So anyway, I may have lent them to somebody, but whatever, that doesn't really matter. So yeah, like I say, that reads 25 thousandths there, and if I stick a feeler gauge up next to it, it looks more like 30. So basically I'm down to playing with it and trying to figure out what thickness of shims we need to put in here to make it all work like it should. I've got this that is 25, a little thinner, all the way down to paper basically, and then this one they claim is 20 thousandths, but that feels pretty much just like the one that says 25. So probably gonna be wishing I had my calipers, but it'll be all right. Okay, so here is my baseline of shims that we're gonna put on here. Again, I don't have a whole lot of faith in the measurement that was listed on this thing, so I'm going to show you why that is. Hopefully you're not picking up too much fan noise there, but if you are, oh well, you'll get used to it. It's hot. So, get this thing in the right position. I don't know how well you guys can see that or not, but more or less, there's no difference between that 30 thousandths feeler gauge and this shim piece that I have here. So basically we should have about 32 thousandths gap between our stationary knife and the plunger knife once I put this back in. Should have. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna try that, see what happens. After I get everything tightened up, we may then have to go back and re-add more shims to it. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of playing the shim game. I would much rather have a bolt or something that I can turn and adjust and make it right, but that's me. So here I go. All right, so shims are installed, everything's tight, all that good happy stuff. Let's see, what did we do here? Did we do anything that was any good, bad, or indifferent? That's pretty snug. I got a better feeler gauge. Alright, so this one is 30 thousandths as well, but it's got that angle on it, so it'll be much easier to work with. So if anything, okay, so now we are too loose at the bottom, and right about middle ways we get too tight. So we're gonna have to loosen up and add down here for sure. Probably add one of these thinner like say this one here, maybe stick that in there on the bottom, retighten it and see what we get, because that putting one shim in the bottom of that's going to change everything. Okay, so top bolt we have no shim. Okay, this bolt we have the one 25 thousandths shim that I cut. Down here we have 3 shims, the 25 thousandths shim and 2 of that thickness right there. So, and then let's see, here is that's 15, that's 25, figures to be the last one I pick up. Right there's 30. So basically what I'm going to say is at least we have clearance now. Okay, That's 30. It's a little loose down here yet. It gets tight right about the top of this bolt. Okay. 25. And it goes up to there. You might as well say. And 15. You can put it through all the way up. I'm gonna say we're, well, let me just get out at 20 thousandths and we'll see what it does at the top. 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so here we have 20 thousandths. At the top, it's pretty tight fit right there. It's a little looser. So anyway, basically with our old worn knives, this is about as good as we're gonna get, or at least that's what I'm gonna say. I don't really want to go into just how many times I've had this thing apart put back together since the last time I filmed, but more or less I'm tired of messing with it. There is clearance. It is much less clearance than it had before. That was its problem, was it had way too much clearance. Okay, so at least now it should be able to cut the hay off when the plunger is moving back, because it was not able to do that before, and that was causing, or well, I should say hopefully is what was causing this knotter to mess up. Okay, because it would only mess up when you were feeding a big wad of hay into the thing and then it tried to tie at the same time. Other than that, this thing did an excellent job right up until the chain broke. Chain broke. It happens. Chain was probably older than me. I would have to say it was older than me because of the International Harvester logo bags that the some of the chain links that are in the toolbox here are in. Like this one. International Harvester bagged chain link. It doesn't have a, oh, that one was made in Japan, so this was probably out of the 80s, early 80s, but anyway, still better than the Chinese chain I put on it there a little while ago, so whatever. Anyway, I guess about the only thing I really got left to do to this is close the lids and get it the hell out of here. So that's the best news I've heard in a couple, 3 days. I have doubts on the accuracy of this counter. I have a counter on another baler that hopefully is a little bit more accurate. And I'm probably going to steal it, put it on here someday. Not today, obviously, because, well, I'm not where the broken baler is to steal it off of. And, yeah, I do believe that is all, guys. That's all we're going to do to this thing until it breaks down again. That's just it. I have, I don't know, I still don't have, well, let's see. Yeah, I probably still don't have $400. Or well, no, let's see. I'm getting, I know I don't have $450 in it yet. So we're doing okay. Definitely don't have $450 in it yet. Oh, with that piece of that roll of chain that I bought, probably about $410, I would say, without sitting down and doing it. Doing the math, so we're definitely not hurt with it. The poor little guy does, I mean, it makes just a beautiful bale. So probably going to call it good and wait until next cutting is available, is here, or well, the next time I'm going to have 4 or 5 good days, so that'll be it. Which is probably today, tomorrow, so on and so forth. But anyway, that's beside the point, because the next field I got to cut is 20 miles from here, and all my equipment is here, and I had to work today. So all that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll be back if something interesting develops. Planning on taking this thing back to the home farm where the next hay field is tomorrow. Meanwhile, it gets to sit inside here, and I don't know, we got some more tinkering to do to this thing here, and you know, just stuff generally. So yeah, that's all for now. We'll be back.